Thought for the day. Self-knowledge is the beginning of self-improvement. Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being. In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we discuss how to use self-knowledge to align our inner selves with our outer selves. Have a listen.
So the story I want to tell today takes place in 1999. At this time, I was 26 years old and pursuing my dream of becoming an actor. I'd landed a couple of speaking roles on television, and I still had hopes that it might come true. When my boyfriend at the time, the boyfriend I'd been with for 6 years, said that he wanted to pursue his dream of becoming a fashion photographer, and to him that meant going on a road trip across America and living in New York. Now, it had never been a dream of mine to go and live in New York, but I wanted to be a supportive girlfriend, so I said that I would go. But as soon as I said yes, I had this feeling in my heart. It was a weight that felt a lot like sadness. Now, if I had have listened to that feeling, what it was asking was why I was giving up my dreams for somebody else's. But I was very good at not listening to my feelings. In the home I grew up in, I learned that you had to sacrifice who you were to be what other people needed you to be. So despite my misgivings, I packed up my bag and I went. So I shoved my feelings aside and we kept making our way, and I decided that New York was where we were going to get to, and New York was going to be the thing that made that feeling go away. So it turns out that I really didn't like New York, and then that feeling in my heart grew to the size of a bowling ball. And it was everything I could do just to keep my body upright, fighting against this weight. And as many of us have probably done, I started looking around for little things to give me a shot of joy so I could keep faking my happiness. And as others may have done in the past, I found myself in a shoe shop, looking at the perfect pair of boots that was going to make everything all better. But I've been cursed with high arches. And as I went to put on these boots in the shop over these arches, I felt something in my back go twang. And I was flooded with the worst feeling I'd ever had in my life. I didn't know what to do. So I got the lady to help me take the shoe off because I couldn't sort of lean forward properly, and I hobbled out of the shop. And I found myself on the street. And I'm standing there thinking I didn't know what to do. So I'm going to walk to the subway, which is a couple of blocks away, and I'm going to get a train home. So I start making my way to the subway, one foot in front of the other, and I keep walking, and eventually I make it into the foyer of Grand Central Station. But as I arrive, this light show starts playing across the roof. So I'm standing there watching the light show going, oh, this is really good. Oh, I love this. Oh no, I don't wonder if anyone else has seen this. And there's like chiming music. And as I'm standing there, I'm thinking, maybe it's not so bad. And the light show ends and I realise I can't move at all. So I'm stuck in this position going, okay, right, I go to put my head down, can't do it. Go to step forward, can't do it. So I'm standing in the middle of this foyer at Grand Central Station going, I don't know what to do. But I still think, I'll just make my way down to the subway. So I start shimmying, trying to get to the edge of where I can find a railing so I can hold onto the railing so I can support myself to get down the steps. Eventually, someone comes over to me and says, are you okay? And I go, I'm not okay. And then the next thing that happens is I'm standing there and finally I'm holding onto a railing at least, and a policeman turns up in front of me. And he says, what seems to be the problem, ma'am? And I said, I hurt my back. The next thing I know, the fire brigade come and cordon off an entire section of Grand Central Station. And so they cordon off that entire section, and then eventually the ambulance arrives And they take me away and they put me on that stretcher. And just putting me on that stretcher, I pass out from the pain because that has, crushed that vertebrae even more. But eventually I get to hospital and they give me a lot of drugs. And I realise that I can't go on pretending anymore. And as soon as I get a bit better, my boyfriend is away on a shoot in Miami, living his dream. And I decide I'm going to come back to Australia. So I come back to Australia, and for the first time in my life, I live by myself. And that's, no boyfriend, no siblings, no flatmates, just me alone in a house with my own thoughts. And what I came to realise was how much energy I put into second guessing what everyone else wanted or thought or needed from me. And I spent so much of my life twisting myself into whatever shape they needed me to be. And I never spent any time wondering who I was or what I wanted. And I realised, actually, in the home that I grew up in, that was necessary to keep me out of trouble. I had to keep twisting myself into whatever shape my father needed me to be. And I realised that I had put in a lot of energy my whole life into trying to make sure that nobody ever saw the real me. Because if I wasn't the real me, it didn't hurt so much when my father hit me. And if I wasn't the real me, it didn't matter so much when my mum was drunk and couldn't cook dinner or look after me. There is a psychoanalyst called D.W. Winnicott who has explored this concept of the false self. And he said, "It is a joy to be hidden and a disaster not to be found." I had spent my entire life hiding, hoping that somebody would come along and see me. But when I lived alone, what I realised that no one was coming to find me, and I had to be the one to go and find myself.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.